Tonight I want to do something specific. I do not want to simply inspire you for an hour and send you home with a handful of ideas to turn over in your mind for a few days. What I actually want to do is open something up inside you that has always been there waiting. The full creative capacity of the mind you already have. And I want to show you, not persuade you, but genuinely show you that this mind of yours is capable of producing anything. Not a selection of things, not the things that feel reasonable given your current situation. Anything. I am not saying that to make this moment sound larger than it is. I mean it with total seriousness and complete precision. The mind you walked in here with tonight is carrying something extraordinary inside it. Something without a ceiling and without qualification. The circumstances you are currently living inside, whatever shape they take right now, are not the final statement about your life. They are not locked in place. They are not evidence of a permanent ceiling above you. They are fluid and they are responsive. At every single moment, they are mirroring back to you the inner world you have been most consistently living in. Because that is what the outer world does. It does not lead, it follows. It reflects. If you have been sitting around waiting for something in your external circumstances to change, before you allow yourself to feel differently about your life, you have the whole process running in reverse. Waiting for more money before you let yourself feel financially at ease. Waiting for the right relationship to land before you allow yourself to feel genuinely worthy of love. Waiting for a better health outcome before you give yourself permission to feel whole. That approach will never produce what you are hoping for, because life has never moved from the outside inward. It has always, without exception, moved from the inside outward. Consciousness is not one ingredient among several that shapes your life. It is the entire foundation. The world does not hand you what you deserve or what you have earned or what you have been patient enough to wait for. It hands you what you are. And what you are is the living sum of every thought you return to habitually and every inner state you settle into consistently. That means something both straightforward and radical. You become with precision whatever you deeply and genuinely assume yourself to be. Your life cannot exceed the ceiling set by your most settled sense of who you are. No transformation in a human life has ever begun anywhere other than in a shift of consciousness first. Let me make this concrete for you. Think right now about the thing you want most in your life. A home that genuinely belongs to you. The kind of financial freedom that removes the tight feeling from your chest. A relationship where you feel completely at home with another person. Real vibrant health. A sense of purpose so grounded it gives your days a kind of gravity and direction. Whatever your version of that is, hold it clearly in your mind. Now I want you to do something that runs entirely counter to everything you have been taught about how results come to people. I am not asking you to wish for this thing. I am not asking you to work toward it as though it is sitting somewhere on a distant horizon, waiting for you to eventually reach it. I am asking you to claim it, to assume it as something that is already real, to stop relating to it as a destination and start relating to it as a current truth. That assumption, even while everything your physical senses are reporting in this moment tells you otherwise, if you genuinely inhabit it, if you breathe it, if you think from inside it rather than toward it, if you return to it consistently, and especially in the quiet moment before you fall asleep at night, it will solidify over time into your actual lived experience. This is not a philosophical position. This is not spiritual language dressed up to sound persuasive. This is simply how consciousness operates, as precise and as impersonal as any law you could observe in the natural world. Here is the most important thing I want to place directly in your hands tonight. You cannot simply visit the state you want occasionally, the way someone pauses on the sidewalk to admire a house that belongs to someone else. You have to move in. You have to unpack your things. You have to learn the specific feel of the place, where the light settles in the morning, which corner becomes your favorite by the third week, what it feels like to simply be there on a quiet evening when nothing particularly remarkable is happening. You need to develop such familiarity with the feeling of your fulfilled desire that it stops feeling like something extraordinary and starts feeling like simply your ordinary life. Because feeling is where every real shift originates. Feeling is the only genuine bridge that exists between the inner world of assumption and the outer world of visible result. Thought alone is not sufficient. You have to feel your way into the state you intend to occupy. The universe does not process the words you speak. It reads what is actually happening beneath those words. the genuine felt quality of what is alive in your inner experience. It responds to that with the same precision a tuning fork responds to its matching frequency and nothing else at all. If you repeat words describing abundance while the familiar knot of not having enough lives in your body, the words do nothing. What registers is the feeling running underneath them. Always the feeling, which is why thought and feeling must eventually become one continuous unified thing, woven together so naturally that separating them would feel as strange as separating breathing from being alive. Stop spending your energy on figuring out the how. I want to say this as directly as I can manage, because this is the specific place where most people pour enormous creative energy directly into the wrong container. How the desired reality arrives is not your responsibility. A seed does not manage its own germination. It does not calculate the chemistry of the soil around it, determine the precise amount of rainfall it will need, or decide the exact moment to send its first root downward into the dark. It simply becomes what it is designed to become. That is its complete assignment. Your assignment is the same. Settle into the consciousness of what you want, as though it is already done. Do not construct the pathway. Do not limit yourself to the 3 routes you can currently imagine while unconsciously blocking every other possibility. Simply live from the end result. Be the version of yourself for whom the thing is already a settled fact. Trust completely that the sequence of events and circumstances needed to bring it into your physical experience will assemble itself with a precision and a creativity that no amount of personal planning on your part could have matched or improved upon. This is not a call to passivity. It is actually the most genuinely active thing available to you, because inner work is the only work that creates anything original. Every outer action is simply the visible expression of an inner state that was already established before the action took place. Every single evening, in the moments just before sleep takes you, do something intentional with that threshold. Do not simply drift unconsciously into rest while carrying the full unprocessed weight of everything the day handed you. Use that edge between waking and dreaming with real purpose. Let the last thing you press into your mind before you lose consciousness be the image and the feeling of what you most want, as though it has already arrived. Make it specific. Give it sensory texture. Give it sound and detail and a particular quality of light. Let it become so ordinary and familiar in your inner world that it loses the charged electricity of something longed for from a distance and settles instead into the quiet ease of something that simply belongs to you. That is what you are actually working toward. Not excitement and not anticipation. The unremarkable, settled comfort of something that is simply and obviously yours. And understand clearly that your mind is not only creating in the moments when you consciously sit down to direct it, it is creating constantly without pause. Every offhand comment about what you are lacking, every automatic complaint you voice without really thinking, every casual statement that reinforces an unwanted reality in your life, each of those is a quiet instruction delivered to the part of your mind that receives without argument and creates without passing judgment on whether what it receives is actually what you prefer. It does not pause to verify your intentions. It builds from whatever it is given. This is why bringing your inner conversations under gentle, conscious guidance matters so much. Not through the anxious surveillance of every passing thought, but through the grounded calm of someone who has already made a settled decision. You have decided who you are. You have decided what is true about you. And from that decision, even in the unguarded moments, especially in those moments, you speak to yourself as someone who is already living the life they have claimed. Here is something that most people miss entirely, and the missing of it genuinely costs them everything. Doubt is not simply the absence of assumption. It is its own active assumption. Fear is not a neutral waiting state. It is a form of belief in full operation. When you pour sustained attention and emotional energy into what you are afraid of, you are not merely worrying. You are creating from that place with the exact same power you would use to create from a state of genuine faith. The law operating beneath all of this is completely impersonal. It does not review your assumptions and choose to honor only the ones it judges worthy. It simply reflects back what you are most genuinely and consistently dwelling in. Whatever inner state you occupy, it finds more of that and delivers it. Whatever you return to most habitually, it brings more of into your experience. Once you truly let this land, fear loses its grip over you. Because the same precision that makes fear so powerful in the wrong direction makes genuine faith completely unstoppable. The exact same law that responds to an assumed lack responds with equal faithfulness to an assumed abundance. The same mechanism that deepens a person's loneliness when they live inside the feeling of being unloved will bring real connection to the person who genuinely inhabits the feeling of being loved. The law has no preference for one outcome over another. It is a mirror, not a judge. You decide what stands in front of it. To truly activate your mind, and I mean not just excite it for a single evening, but genuinely and lastingly engage its creative power, you must begin by releasing your identification with your own past. Your past is not your identity. It is your history. It is a record of what was created by an earlier version of you who did not yet understand what was being created or how any of it actually worked. You are not your failures. You are not the damage that was handed to you before you were old enough to choose anything differently. You are not the patterns that quietly formed in you during the years when you had no awareness that patterns were forming at all. You are the awareness itself, the living, conscious, creative presence that can choose right now, in this moment, what to assume, what to inhabit, what to make real in the only place that has ever mattered, which is the interior of your own mind. The moment this stops being an interesting concept and starts being something you feel is completely true in your whole body, you are free. Because the moment you genuinely inhabit the feeling of your desire as already fulfilled, the law has no option but to begin constructing the path toward its physical realization. Not might, must. This is not optimism wearing the clothes of confident language. It is the mechanics of consciousness, as exact and as non-negotiable as any equation in mathematics. Your mind is not a place that something greater occasionally drops in to visit. It is not a tool that sometimes serves as a channel for a higher power. It is the actual workshop of creation, the living place where every human life in every era has first been built and continuously rebuilt. Imagination is not fantasy or escapism. It is the very substance from which everything real is shaped. Every single thing that human hands have ever constructed in the physical world began first as a thought, an inner image, a felt sense of something that had not yet become visible. And what is true of architecture and technology and art is equally and precisely true of your relationships, your financial life, your health, your sense of direction and meaning. Every dimension of your visible world was first assembled inside someone's imagination, including your own. You must see it within before it can appear without. You must know in the inner dimension that it is already done before the outer world can arrange itself to reflect that back to you. This is what it has always meant to believe you have already received what you are asking for. Not that you will receive it eventually, that you have received it. Present tense, established in consciousness, which is the only place anything is ever truly established first. Let me take this one level deeper, because the creative act is not a technique you apply at scheduled times and then set aside. It is an identity you live in continuously. You are not someone who occasionally practices bringing desired things into your life. You are the living process of creation itself, breathing and moving and thinking, directing it or not, whether you are aware of it or not. You are not sometimes creating, you are always creating. The degree to which this registers as a felt truth in you rather than just an appealing idea is the degree to which your outer world begins responding to you with speed and real accuracy. Once you genuinely understand that your mind is the projector and the world around you is simply the screen where the projection lands, you stop wasting your energy rearranging what is showing on the screen. You go to the source directly. To your thoughts, your assumptions, the things you say to yourself when no one is listening, the emotional atmosphere you actually live inside most of the time. Change what is running in the projector and the image on the screen must change. Not might, must. The world you experience is your own inner life made visible and solid. Every person who enters your path, every circumstance that finds you, every event that seems to arrive from nowhere, all of it is emerging from the pattern of thought and feeling you have been sustaining over time. If you want different relationships, build a different understanding of who you are in relation to other people. If you want a different financial reality, inhabit the inner life of someone for whom that reality is already normal. See yourself differently. Speak to yourself differently. Respond to what is in front of you as the version of you who already is what you are becoming. Because as long as you continue thinking from the state of not having enough, you will continue producing that experience, not as punishment, not as a verdict on your worth as a human being, but simply as the faithful and mechanical operation of a law you are always activating whether you have been conscious of it or not. You cannot force the activation of your mind. You cannot reach it through effort and strain and anxiety. It opens through ease, through a deep and settled kind of surrender. Not the surrender of someone giving up on what they want, but the surrender of a farmer who has planted his seed and genuinely understands that pacing anxiously between the rows changes nothing. The trust of someone so completely at ease with the process that hovering over it would feel not only unnecessary, but almost absurd. You move through your days with a lightness in you, because you understand that the real work has already been done in the place where it counts. You do not argue with what your circumstances are currently showing you. You do not fight what is visible. You return without drama, again and again, to the inner state of the thing already fulfilled, and you live there. You make it more familiar to you than anything else in your experience. You train yourself to feel the joy before the event that would justify it, to feel the satisfaction before the result appears, to feel the abundance before the physical evidence arrives to confirm it. This is not self-deception. This is precisely how every life that has ever been genuinely transformed from the inside out has actually worked. The person who remains asleep to all of this moves through life reacting to whatever the external world sends. The awake person moves through life creating the external world through their inner state. The sleeping person lets what is happening outside determine what they feel on the inside. The awake person chooses the inside first and allows the outside to follow. Do not underestimate the power of simple repetition. The deeper part of your mind does not accept new beliefs through logic or argument. It accepts through feeling and through persistence, through the gradual accumulation of an inner truth, returned to so many times that it eventually stops being a belief you are working to maintain and simply becomes the obvious and settled fact of who you are. If you are affirming abundance but still feeling the tightness of scarcity underneath the words, do not abandon the practice. Soften it instead. Do not force the words louder. Let them go deeper. Let them become a quiet undercurrent running beneath your ordinary days, rather than a performance you put on at set times. And then, often in a moment when you are not watching for it, something will happen. A door opens. A conversation shifts in a direction you did not engineer. An idea arrives in a still moment that has a quality of surprising rightness to it. The outer world responds, not because you pressured it into doing so, but because you held the inner frequency long enough that it became genuinely your natural state. And everything that matches that frequency is drawn toward it with the same reliability and the same impersonality as a magnet drawing metal. You are broadcasting at every moment of your waking and sleeping life. The question is not whether you are in the act of creating something. You always are. The question is only what you are creating. Every thought that genuinely marries itself to an emotion becomes a creative instruction. Every fear given real and sustained emotional attention becomes a request answered in the direction you least wanted. So why not deliberately and consciously reverse that? With the full and calm authority of someone who actually understands the mechanism they are working with. Instead of quietly bracing for difficulty, begin to genuinely anticipate good things. Instead of rehearsing what you are afraid of until it feels inevitable, rehearse what you most want until anything else would feel genuinely out of place. The moment you authentically move into a new inner state, the law begins responding to it immediately, not when you first see physical evidence of the change. The moment you authentically live inside the new assumption, the process is already running. You may not see anything shift visibly the next day or the day after that. That means nothing about whether the law is operating. The seed is in the ground. Do not keep digging it up with doubt. Do not fall into the exhausting cycle of genuinely inhabiting the new state one moment and then sliding back into fear the next, and then wondering why the results coming to you feel inconsistent and unclear. They are not inconsistent. They are perfectly precise. They reflect exactly what you have been most genuinely living in over time. Stay faithful. Stay still in the chosen state. The longer you persist there, the more natural it becomes. And when it becomes natural, it becomes inevitable. That sense of naturalness, of the thing simply feeling true in you without any effort required to sustain it, is the signal that the assumption has genuinely taken root. And assumptions that have taken root produce results with the same inevitability that planted seeds eventually become trees. The ability to bring what you want into your experience is not a special gift that was rationed out to certain types of people while being withheld from you. It is not being held back from you until you have become sufficiently spiritual, sufficiently deserving, or sufficiently practiced in the correct methods. It is your birthright. It is built into the fundamental nature of what you are. It is not hidden. It is not locked. It is here, completely accessible in this moment right now, waiting for nothing except your genuine recognition of it. The moment you stop looking outward for permission and turn genuinely inward, you will feel it. Something quiet and steady in the center of your chest. A kind of knowing that requires no external confirmation because it is more solid than anything the physical world can hand you. That settled and untroubled certainty is worth more than any technique or method ever assembled, because once you feel it with genuine depth, the outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself to meet it. The outer is never first, it is always the echo. Consciousness is always the cause. When doubt appears, you are encouraged not to resist or argue with it, but to simply return to a chosen inner state, as if your desired outcome is already real. Instead of thinking about what you want as something distant, you are instructed to feel it from within, using imagination and emotion to inhabit the reality of it already being fulfilled. This inner feeling is presented as the true creative force that shapes external experience, with consistency in this state gradually transforming identity from wanting to being. Doubt, fear, and external evidence are treated as temporary noise that should not override the chosen inner assumption. Rather, you continuously return to it with calm certainty. The gap between inner assumption and outer manifestation is framed as a natural delay, not a sign of failure, because reality is said to reorganize itself in response to sustained inner conviction. By repeatedly embodying the end result internally, feeling, imagining, and identifying with it, you are described as shifting into a new version of yourself that naturally attracts corresponding external changes, with life unfolding as a reflection of your maintained inner state rather than something imposed from outside.